Badge engineering isn't a new concept. For years, car manufacturers have been sharing resources to fill gaps in the market. So if I cover up this badge here, what do you think we've got? If you're screaming at your screen Toyota RAV4, then you're half right. This is the Suzuki Across, and it is effectively a RAV4 apart from the name. There's a few subtle differences which we'll run through in this video, but the big question is whether you should consider one of these over Suzuki's Toyota badged sibling. Before we take a look, don't forget to subscribe to the Driving Electric YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you're notified when new videos go live. So, like we've said, the Across shares many of its parts, as well as its overall look, with the Toyota RAV4. In fact, from the back, if you removed the badges, you'd be hard-pressed to tell the two apart. The front end of the Suzuki is subtly different, but again, the similarities are plain to see. Under the bonnet, the Across lifts its plug-in hybrid powertrain from the Toyota completely unchanged. That means a 2.5 litre petrol engine paired with an electric motor for a substantial 302 brake horsepower. Every version is four-wheel drive, and thanks to its chunky 18 kilowatt-hour battery, it'll officially do 46 miles on electric power alone. If you thought Suzuki might put their own spin on things here in the cabin, then think again. The screen? Pretty much exactly the same. This centre stack with the climate controls and heated seats, identical. Even this gear lever is exactly the same. The only thing really giving it away that it's a Suzuki is this massive S on the steering wheel. But does that really matter when the materials are high quality and the fit and finish is just right? This isn't a cheap car. Prices start from around £45,000, but everything in here feels built to a standard to match that lofty price tag. The infotainment system is a bit of a letdown, never really been a Toyota strong point. It's just a bit slow and unresponsive, but you do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can largely avoid using the standard system if that suits you. We mentioned that high price just now, but the good news is that there's only one Suzuki Across to choose from, so you don't need to pick one and then add the flashier specs to get all important bits of kit. As standard, you get 19-inch wheels, LED lights, privacy glass and keyless entry. Inside, you'll find that 9-inch touchscreen, a parking camera, heated seats and a heated steering wheel. Plus, as usual, a whole host of driver aids and safety kit. Crucially though, while the Across briefly undercut the RAV4 when it launched, Toyota has since added cheaper variants of its plug-in hybrid SUV to the range, meaning you can buy one of those for around £2,500 less, and without really scrimping on kit. Furthermore, the Toyota comes with a 5-year warranty, extendable up to 10 years for as long as you get the car serviced at a main dealer. The Suzuki is limited to 3 years or 60,000 miles. Now, if you've watched our video review of the RAV4 plug-in hybrid, then all of our statements about the driving experience ring true here. It's really quick, as you'd expect from a car with 300 brake horsepower. 0 to 62 miles per hour takes just 6 seconds. 6? It drives quite nicely. Toyota's platform is a good starting point, and sticking a Suzuki badge on the nose hasn't changed that. It's quite heavy, and that means the ride isn't perfect. It's not uncomfortable, but it's not a sports car either. However, it doesn't come undone if you want to drive along a bit quicker. Most people driving this car won't though, and that makes all that power and performance a bit silly. But if we put that to one side for the moment and just let this thing cruise along on battery power, then you quickly realise that it's quite a relaxing and ultimately easy car to live with. But this is actually when the car is at its best, as it switches between petrol and electric power pretty seamlessly, so long as you don't stomp your foot on the accelerator, as it can get a bit confused at this point. But if you just leave the systems to their own devices and pootle along gently, then it's a pretty pleasant drive. If you plug it in every night, as you should, then you can extract seriously impressive fuel economy from this thing. And that does go some way to offsetting the high list price. We've seen well over 30 miles on electric power, which for most will be plenty. Charging is one area where the Suzuki and Toyota differ slightly. Whereas the RAV4 has a much faster 6.6 kilowatt onboard charger, the Across is limited to 3 kilowatts, which means top-up times are much slower. Charging the Suzuki from empty with a home wall box will take a little over 6 hours. The RAV4 cuts that by more than half to 2 hours 30 minutes. While that won't matter to most buyers who'll simply top up overnight, you might feel shortchanged when you discover that while Toyota buyers get 2 cables as standard, Suzuki owners must pay extra for a Type 2 cable. But whichever one you're interested in, if you're a company car driver, switching from a petrol or diesel car will see you save thousands in tax alone. Officially, the boot of the Across is around 30 litres smaller than the equivalent Toyota, but you're not going to notice that day to day. There's 490 litres with the seats up and around 1,200 litres with the seats down. This model comes with a spare tyre under the floor, so there's no room to put the charging cables. But overall, the Across is a big square space, making it a really practical car. Although if that's your main concern, then the Citroën C5 Aircross is bigger still. Space in the back of the Suzuki is good too. Okay, so I'm not as tall as some, but even those approaching 6 feet shouldn't find it too tricky to get comfortable, whichever seat they're in. Storage throughout is generous as well, with various cubbies and door bins big enough for water bottles. So, should you consider one of these over a Toyota RAV4? Well, consider one, by all means. It is almost identical after all, but the key word there is almost. You can now get a RAV4 for around $2,500 less, has a longer warranty, faster charging, and on paper has a marginally bigger boot. So the short answer is that while there's nothing really wrong with the Suzuki Across, we're just not sure why you'd bother. Head to DrivingElectric.com for the latest electric car advice, news and reviews, and make sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Before you go, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified when the next video goes live.